How is it going, everyone? It's Caleb here, and today we are going to be talking about another kart racing game on the Game Boy Advance. We are going to be talking about Digimon Racing. I've played a few Digimon games in my time, and to be honest with you, the majority of the ones I've played, I have not enjoyed. However, this one is actually pretty decent. I enjoy this one, and it has a cool little gimmick involving the Digimon, especially because you can really only do this with Digimon, and that is the feature of Digivolving. You can actually evolve your characters in this game during the races, which is a pretty cool little feature, and I really enjoyed that. This, overall, is pretty much like every other kart racer you see out there. You have quite a few different courses, you have some cup races that you can do as well, time trials, all that good stuff. And you also, whenever you are racing against any of the bots on the track, you have the regular pickups that you see in all the kart games to try to get the edge on your opponent. And each character also has an independent ability that you can use through Digivolving. Now, the way that the Digivolving works is that you pick your Digimon. And when you pick your Digimon, each one has its own unique evolution. And you will see these little, like, Digivolve mats on the ground. They're like these little cyber sections of the map. And if you run over those, if you drive over them, it will raise your Digivolve bar. And when you get that bar to the max, you will actually have a special ability that only your Digimon can use. And that's actually pretty cool. And, of course, as you raise that Digivolve, your character also will evolve, which is pretty cool. So you have a couple different evolutions that you have. You have your regular evolution, then you have your Digivolved form, and then you can actually devolve into like a weaker form, which I thought was kind of funny. So you have a few different forms that each driver can take, and it just makes for a really unique and just different gaming experience. I've never seen a game do this, and that's because there's not many games that can do that. You know, it's kind of a function that only works with things like Digimon or Pokemon, and since Pokemon doesn't have a kart racing game, it's Digimon that went ahead, I guess, and took that feature and took that gimmick. You have quite a decent roster of characters to select from, and there's actually some unlockable characters that you can get as well if you play through all the cups, and if you complete all the quick races and get gold medals on them, and if you complete all the time trials. You do all that stuff and you can get extra characters, which is always a good thing. I always like having unlockable characters in any of these kart games, and while that may seem like a kind of basic feature, not every game back on the Game Boy Advance had unlockable characters. So whenever I do see a chance to unlock some characters, I always think that's actually a good thing. It gives you a reason to keep playing the game. So I was fine with that, and I thought that was actually pretty cool to see. All the sprites and everything for the characters look pretty darn good. I was pretty impressed with the sprite work. And the actual courses, I think the majority of the courses look pretty good. There's one or two that have just a bit too much going on, I will say. There's a swamp level, and while I do like the swamp, it sometimes looks a little bit messy with how much is just going on the screen. And sometimes on the courses, there's also too much going on in the background. There's a minecart level, and when you're in the minecart, the background is just like constantly moving, and it doesn't look quite right, and it was very distracting, and it was something that I could never quite get used to. And there's a few other courses like that. There's an underground one where you're in like this gigantic underground like aquarium style course, and it's the same kind of thing with that. You see the background moving a lot, and it's kind of just distracting, and it doesn't look very good. And another thing I will say about the courses, and this is probably the biggest knock on this game, is that they actually have just too many obstacles on the courses. I don't like it when they just fill the course with just tons and tons of obstacles, and this game definitely did that. Not a fan of that, but they did it. It is what it is. It's kind of just one of those things that you have to get over if you want to enjoy some of these kart racing games. But it could have definitely used some dialing back, because they filled these courses with obstacles constantly. Now, I do like the shortcuts. The shortcuts on the courses are pretty fun. There's a lot of cliffs and stuff, and if you're able to jump over some of these cliffs and over some of these hazards, you can actually take shortcuts, and I do think that's pretty cool. I did like that feature, and I think a lot of the shortcuts are very well done. And it gives you a lot of times it will give you like a choice between either taking a shortcut and trying to get further up in the race, or going and trying to hit one of those like cyber strips to fill up your Digibar. And that's important too, because obviously you can Digivolve and get your ability, but also the Digivolve bar does make your character go faster. So you kind of have to weigh the options and see, which one is better for you in that moment. If you're already fully Digivolved, you might as well just take the shortcut instead. But if you're not fully Digivolved, you kind of have to make a decision. Do you take the shortcut, or do you go for the cyber strip and try to upgrade your character? So I kind of like that. I kind of like that it has that. Each character, by the way, does also have their own stats, and the stats are pretty important. There's some characters that just are not very good, and you want to make sure that you pick a character that is at least good enough to get through some of these levels. But because there's one character that is unfortunately just super slow. I tried racing on there. It's this little bird character. I felt so bad for it because I was just like, this character's so cute, but it's so slow. It's pretty much useless. I felt bad because I was just like, look how cute this character is. It sucks. So that was an unfortunate thing, unfortunately. But each character does have their own stats, and they are pretty important for the races. I'm fine with pretty much all of the pickups. I do like that the pickups in this game also, whenever you pick them up, they will actually use some of your Digimeter, so your Digivolve meter. If you use any ability that you pick up, it will lower that meter, which is kind of cool. So you're constantly using energy, and you're constantly trying to build that energy back up. And the abilities that you are able to pick up are pretty standard, just stuff that you're used to. Some things that you can free fire, some things that track onto people in front of you and stuff like that. So basically the stuff that you're probably used to, speed boosts, all that good stuff. The only thing I would complain about with those sort of power-ups is that sometimes if you get hit by a power-up in this game, and even if you get hit by just one of the random obstacles on the course, like sometimes you just have like cavemen throwing ice at you on the course and stuff like that. If you get hit by that stuff, sometimes it will just spin your car completely backwards, and if that happens, it's so hard to get back into the race, especially if that happens on the third lap, because I mean it spins you completely backwards, and you have to try to turn your car completely around and get back on track. And if it's on the third lap, good luck coming back from it, you know. Another positive this game actually has going for it is something that's also pretty unique. If you go through and you do the cup mode, the kind of like tournament mode where you're going through all these different cups, if you go and you do that, there's actually boss battles at the end of each area. And I thought that was actually really cool. You have 3 main areas, and at the end of each one, there is a boss battle, and it is a legitimate boss battle. You have a boss that you fight that has a health bar, and he's, you know, somewhere on the map. Sometimes he's like swapping positions on the map, and you have to go pick up power-ups, and you actually have to wait for him to basically wear himself out and get into kind of like a vulnerable position. And then when he does, you're able to hit him and do damage to him, and you basically have to hit each boss 3 times for them to be defeated. And I just thought it was kind of cool to see a boss fight in a kart racing game like this, and for it to be done this well. They did a great job with the boss fights, and I was pretty impressed with that one, and I was pretty happy with it. And I will say, there's definitely a lot of content in the actual tournament mode as well, because once you finish all 3 areas, you have 4 courses in each of the major areas, then you get bonus cups. And yeah, it's the same courses that you've already played, but they're in different orders and stuff like that, so it's just kind of giving you more incentive to keep playing the game. And I did actually like that. I thought that was cool that they just kept throwing more cups at you, even if it's the same courses that you've already played before, you know, the same 12 courses. At least they're throwing them in a different order to try to keep it fresh, and just trying to give you more to play. And I did like that. And there's even at the very end a boss fight cup where it will put the 3 boss fights that you play through, it will put them in a cup, and you have to go through each boss fight in a row. And that was actually really fun as well. So I was always a big fan of that stuff. They did a great job with the tournament mode in this game. Overall, I really like Digimon Racing. It's not the perfect video game, don't get me wrong. It definitely has issues with, you know, how much stuff is on the course, and some of the abilities, you know, just knocking you completely 180 and you not being able to turn around in time. And sometimes I do feel like they put some of the ability pickups too close to the finish line, and it does end up screwing you over sometimes towards the end of the race. And I'm not a big fan of that stuff, but when you look at how fun this game is, all the, you know, just great sprite work on it, the actual fun of it, how well the game controls, because the game controls fantastic and it performs great as well. And when you look at all the different options they've given you, this fun Digivolve gimmick that they put into it that actually works very well, when you look at all this stuff, it just is a very unique kart racer, and it's just a lot of fun. And I think that if you are a fan of kart racing games, you should definitely pick this up. If you are looking for a fun game on the Game Boy Advance, pick up Digimon Racing. It's actually a pretty darn good racing game, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's definitely unique, it definitely has its own spin on the genre, and it makes me want more. I don't think we'll ever see another Digimon Racing game, but it does make me want more. And also, this game is not super expensive. You can usually find this for under 20 bucks. So, for that price, I think it's actually worth picking up. So go check out Digimon Racing on the Game Boy Advance. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, hit the like button, subscribe button down below. Let me know in the comments, Who is your favorite Digimon? If you are a fan of Digimon, who is your favorite? I have to go with probably Renamon. I'd say is probably my favorite. Unfortunately, not in the game, but I do think that would probably be my favorite Digimon. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you next one. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.